242. The Artist as the Prophet of Rebellion. Chalcedon Report number 321, April 1992. Although the origins of the artist as prophet are in Rousseau, Paul Johnson sees the first great example of it in Ludwig van Beethoven, 1770 to 1827. He was one of the central pillars of the modern, that is, a secular humanistic worldview, in which all aspects of life are detached from Christianity and in which autonomous man's ideas and will are ultimate. He despised all, quote, superiors, end quote, publicly manifested his rudeness towards them, and he was contemptuous of authority. Beethoven popularized the notion of the artist as universal genius, as a moral figure in his own right, indeed, as a kind of intermediary between God and man. His friend, Bettina von Arnim, said he treated God as an equal. Of course, Beethoven's God was not the biblical God, but a creature of his own imagination. In fact, Beethoven said, art always represents the divine, and the relationship of men towards art is religion. What we obtain from art comes from God, is divine inspiration. Beethoven created a new God with himself as its prophet. Other artists soon followed suit. The implications of all this become understandable when we turn to Albert Camus, 1913 to 1960, who, in The Rebel, declared, "Since God claims all that is good in man, it is necessary to deride what is good and choose what is evil." Beethoven was a devout practitioner of this faith, although an amateur compared with some who followed him. He was a liar and a cheat, and self-righteous about it. At the same time, he saw himself as the archetype martyr to art, the new kind of secular saint who was taking over from the old Christian calendars as a focus of public veneration. Concert halls, once noisy places, now replaced churches as a scene of reverential quietness. Art began to replace the church as the new established religion of society, and the modern state gives very generous subsidies to the arts. Anna Sokolov, in writing about the dance, lashed out against any fixed ideas or rules. She declared plainly that she hated them. No rules should be imposed on dancers. The dancer should simply express what he feels is right. But what is right? Anna Sokolov is very blunt about that. The trouble with the modern dance now is that it is trying to be respectable. The founders of the modern dance were rebels. Their followers are bourgeois. The younger generation is too anxious to please, too eager to be accepted. For art, this is death. To young dancers, I want to say, do what you feel you are, not what you think you ought to be. Go ahead and be a bastard. Then you can be an artist. This tells us why modern art is implicitly or explicitly anti-Christian. Note Sokolov's statements. To be accepted. For art, this is death. Go ahead and be a bastard. Then you can be an artist. Sokolov expressed interest in the Bible, but it was for what she could find and use from it, not in terms of submission to the God of Scripture. According to Pauline Kroner, the modern dance must be intrinsic dance, as opposed to extrinsic, the kind of dance that is composed from the outside, not motivated by the inner necessity of the creator's being. This tells us why, as a painter once said when asked the meaning of an abstract composition, that the questioner could not understand the meaning of art, and hence no answer was due. Given the logic of this autonomous and anti-Christian doctrine of art, all members of an orchestra should play whatever is intrinsic to their being. As far as I know, not even John Gage has tried that. Alva Nicolais declared, "Freedom from the domination of the concrete is a logical manifestation of our times." Quote, "The concrete," end quote, means a God-made world. Autonomous man prefers his own creation because it is without form and void. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. It is supposedly a world which is both man-created and without God. Beethoven and Wagner, as they expressed their anti-Christianity, still did so with the forms and tools of traditional and Christian art. The more recent modernists have increasingly dispensed with and waged war against the real world, as well as against biblical morality. Donald McKeel denied the right to categorize. The need to categorize I consider a point of contention. To me, one's alliance is determined by the manner of one's work. Is it the act of creation or preservation? Is its aim realization or anticipation? If one must make niches, let them be based on artistic value. Now, up to a point, McKeel was speaking against being classified as a black artist in the dance. He did recognize that one's cultural heritage, quote, flavors one's work, end quote, but he failed to recognize that what we all do is a reflection of our faith, heritage, character, and growth. But the artist as rebel is at war with God and with God's reality. Thus, even where an ostensible realism occurs, it is a mockery. For Leonard B. Myers, quote, radical empiricism, end quote, causality is denied, and no event follows another, but simply comes after. There is no relationship, and the isolated object freshly experienced is the chief source of value. The radical empiricists and the pop artists denied the reality of relationships and the relevance of purpose. Only individual sensations, not the connections between them, are real. Anything is likely, and nothing is certain in the universe. David Hume, 1711 to 1776, reduced all things to disconnected sense impressions. No reality can be known outside the mind of man, and man's stock of ideas is simply sense impressions. Any causal connection between these sense experiences is an invention of man's mind. David Hume is a name unknown to these artists, but they now formulate his ideas as their own. This is a very important fact. Peter Paul Rubens, 1577 to 1640, was a Flemish painter, an envoy for Spain to Charles I of England in peace negotiations in 1629, a man of wide knowledge, erudition, and culture. He had a close familiarity with the world of action and ideas, and his paintings reflect that fact. In understanding David Hume, we understand modern art and also its illiteracy. 2 centuries after Hume, the arts have finally caught up with his thinking. Modern art is thus stupidly antique art, proudly presenting as fresh discoveries Hume's ideas of generations past. The artist, by seeing himself as a prophet and a new source of revelation, has as surely cut himself off from reality as have the inmates of psychiatric asylums. They have lost touch with reality and have manufactured one of their own. Beethoven, Shelley, and others began a pretentious charade as prophets. Shelley saw poets as the world's unacknowledged legislators, an insane bit of nonsense very much in tune with his whole discordant life. Modern art has chosen evil and insanity.